We're 37 days away from the 2024 presidential and parliamentary elections. Good evening and welcome to Newsnight. The hashtag Galamsey Now Stop is still on. And tonight it will cost the NDC $18.5 billion and the NPP $13.9 billion to implement flagship health policies. We are focusing on their manifestos tonight. But CDD fellow on public health Kwame Sapong-Asiedu is questioning the commitment of the two major political parties to implement this health manifesto.
Looking at our budget deficit as per November, what they were telling us, the gap in our budget, and show us where the money is going to come.
How are you going to find $18.5 billion for the NDC, $13.9 billion for the MPP
We'll get to hear all the details, plus hear from the drafters of the health manifesto of the two political parties as they challenge the basis of these figures.
What is the basis of his calculation?
You dispute it?
Yes, when he came to.
Well, so I have costs per each of the major significant things that we wish
and
to
the total is what?
No, I'm not going to be able to give you a round total.
So you also haven't cost?
No, I'm just telling you.
We have details of that. Also, demand for employment opportunities, agro-processing facilities, and an end to illegal mining at Galamsey. It tops the list of demands of constituency in the Anglonga constituency with 37 days to this year's elections. That's on our constituency lens.
They have to end Galamsey before we vote this year because it will disturb us with the youth in the future. Unemployment and education.
We're live in Anglonga tonight, and also Chief Justice warns political parties and stakeholders to take procedure seriously or risk having their cases, including election petitions, thrown out as she launches the 5th manual for election petition adjudication.
Not only is procedure critical, but a failure to provide the legal threshold of evidence can be costly. Starting an action in the wrong court can lead to loss of an otherwise perfect case.
More on that, as she says, judges cannot make all parties to a case happy.
Every day, a judge annoys somebody. In fact, even if you adjourn a case, you will annoy somebody. If you grant an application, the one who it was granted against will be upset.
And in business, Chamber of Petroleum Consumers COPEC forecast a 2.3% drop in prices of petroleum products from tomorrow.
And in sports, Bibiani Ghost Stars downplay a Premier League title hopes despite topping the table after 9 games, insisting they do not want to put themselves under any pressure.
And we are avoiding the rush hour and joining the happy hour at the Accra International Conference Centre. I'm talking about the Ecobank-JoyNews Habitat Fair. And of course, we've been hearing from exhibitors with factoring in the economy and lifestyles to price items to enable everyone planning to own a home or a land to be able to do so.
We are saying that you should buy a house or land from us and pay it without interest in 5 and 2 years.
We are offering a 10% discount. We are also offering free consultation.
We've slashed our prices down because we want everyone to secure a plot.
You want to make your way there. And of course, it's the National Science and Maths Quiz. We have the latest, the freshly minted 2024 champions of the National Science and Maths Quiz. Infansipim School, Kwa Boche, presents their trophy home in a grand style with a celebratory float parading through the streets of Cape Coast. And that's the Augasco effect affecting the English tonight for the National Science and Maths Quiz. But of course, we'll focus on Infansipim throughout, as they become the champions for this year. That and more coming up on Newsnight here on Joy 99.7 FM here in Accra, in Kumasi on Love 99.5 FM. You want to join us with your thoughts, your comments, is via WhatsApp 055 1111 997. We are also on X Spaces, we're on Facebook. That and more in details after this particular break. Please do stay with us. This is Newsnight here on Joy 99.7 FM in Accra and Kumasi Love 99.5 FM. I am Emefa Apau. Let's start off from the election headquarters.
A election headquarters is brought to you by Petrosol Platinum Energy, Energizing Dreams, the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants (CIMA), and the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants (AICPA), together as the Association of International Certified Professional Accountants, German Ozone Medical Center, Alternative Therapy, Dental, Wellness and Beauty, Shopbox Technologies, a convenient service, Youth Bridge Foundation, bridging the gap for positive youth development, and Syntex Tanks. A year strong, a year tough.
And tonight, we'll start off by tracking the manifestos of the two main political parties, the NPP and the NDC. Already, questions are rife over how the two major political parties will raise funds to implement their flagship health policies in their manifesto. The Center for Democratic Development Fellow for Public Health, Kwame Sapong-Esiedu, revealed that it will cost the NDC a whopping $18.5 billion to implement its 111 programs, while it will cost the NPP $13.9 billion to implement its 84 programs captured in their manifesto. In the Joy News Manifesto track on PM Express is on every Wednesday on the Joy News channel. Mr. Sapong-Esiedu raised concerns over how the parties were going to raise these funds amidst a tight fiscal space when they win the elections. Listen.
It's about $4.5 billion a year. And you have to factor it in that a chunk is the earlier calculation I made of the free primary health care because of the $50 average with 34 million people. So that is there. Even if in our calculation, what we did was we assumed that, let's say that they are going to only 50% of Ghanaians are going to access that. So the 1.7 billion just comes to about $850 million. But that is still a lot of money a year to find.
Yeah.
Factoring in the fact that we need to find $3 billion and we are struggling and going cap in hand to the World Bank. So for me, they have to tell me. And one thing about numbers is when you tell them every time, what the political parties will do is to try and muddy the waters by saying, how did you come to this? I'm not going to play that game with them. What they should tell us, how much is it going to cost? If they say that is wrong, let's assume they came and said, oh, this is wrong.
They should tell us.
They should tell us how much.
Because you put it up. You tell us how much it's going to cost.
Yes, and if they want to see the numbers and what has gone into the modeling to get to this, I'm prepared to share. But most importantly, they should tell us how it will cost. The NPPs would cost
13.9.
Yeah.
They are more realistic in what they are promising. You saw in the numbers there.
Even then, it's about 3.9 billion per year.
A year.
They can't find 3 billion.
Yeah.
But then they are telling me that they will find 3.9 billion every year over 4 years. When they can't find, when they can't find 3 billion for
3 years,
for 1 year from the IMF.
IMF, yes.
Just to get.
I mean, the point
support.
you're making, we're going to the IMF, wanting 3 billion
for the whole country.
For a 3-year period.
Which is 1 billion a year.
And now you say you're going to be spending 3 billion every year for 4 years.
4 years. So what I get is, as happens with a lot of our manifestos, it's a wish list. They would implement some of them irrespective of who wins power. But 4 years from now, we probably would be looking at the things they promised us that they never implemented. And that, for me, is what we are trying to prevent today. By them opening up to us, telling us where they're going to find the money from, looking at our budget deficit as per November, what they were telling us, the gap in our budget, and show us where the money is going to come from.
Especially at the time of economic crisis, as has been projected, it's probably going to take us a decade to recover. How are you going to find $18.5 billion for the NDC, $13.9 billion for the NPP to fund that manifesto over the 4-year period? You only have a 4.
That's Kwame Sapong-Esiedu's interaction with my colleague Evans Mensah on PM Express Business Edition. Thankfully, he joins us via Zoom. I'll get to him shortly. But as he predicted, the two major political parties' reps on the show are questioning the basis of the data, asserting strongly that there are funds to implement them. We can take a listen to Presidential Advisor on Health, Dr. Anthony Insiasare, and NDC parliamentary candidate for Lambusi, Dr. Titus Bayo.
Where did he get? What is the basis of his calculation?
You dispute it?
Yes, when he came to us.
You dispute it?
I asked him a very simple question.
Okay, so if you dispute
what is the basis of your calculation?
He actually explained it. He explained it in when he said, well, You dispute it?
No, how do you, I don't see where he got his figures.
Okay.
Because you see, you have to get the basis.
What is yours? What is your figure? How much is it going to cost you?
Before you can then say what he said.
Okay, you did the manifesto. How much is it going to cost you to implement
You know how much it costs. We know how much it costs.
So tell us.
The source of money for Agenda 1.
I haven't asked the source yet. I'm asking about how much.
Agenda 111.
Not Agenda 111. I'm talking about all your promises.
All the things that you are doing. If you read our manifesto very well, I can see that you've left a lot of portions out. If you look at it, it will tell you how we are going to do these things. One, you know that our flag bearer has said.
But you don't answer my question.
I'm coming. You want me to give you a figure?
Yes.
I have not done that calculation that CDD has done. I don't know his basis.
So you have a questions there, but I'm asking you yours.
Yes.
Because you put 52 promises in your manifesto as far as health is concerned.
Which we know within the 4 years.
Did you cost it?
Yes, we are costing our manifesto.
You are costing or you've costed?
We've costed, we know how much it is.
So how much is it going to cost you to deliver on all 52 promises?
I cannot give you a figure today.
So you don't have it?
We have it. I can give you a figure the next.
But you
I'll give you a figure. Yes, I'll give you a figure. But what I'm saying is that I know what you're doing. Fixing that, how much
because you don't disagree that it is the most important question considering where the economy is going to be in 2025.
Yes.
Quantity. Your 111.
It's simple count. This is simple count. Well, but that's not my question. My question is how much, what's the cost of that?
Well, so I have costs per each of the major significant things that we wish
and
to
that total is what?
No, I'm not going to be able to give you a RAM total.
So you also haven't cost?
No, I'm just telling you. Why do you jump to that conclusion? I said I have cost.
Simple.
So if you allow me, I'll tell you. So for instance, if you take our free primary healthcare policy, we estimate per annum is going to cost us about $49 million, right? And we've costed this because we've done estimation for the number because we are doing it in phases. We've costed that if we have about 6,000 chips compound operating. Right now we're around 4,000. If we complete what we wish to complete and have all the chips compound running, we'll have roughly about 6,000. We've costed that how much expenditure it costs per chips compound per year. And so if we are freeing funds for them and they are going to get, it's going to cost about $49 million.
$49 million
per annum.
Per annum for the free primary healthcare?
Yes.
$49 million?
Yes.
Okay, so that's just one item.
That's one item. So I'm telling you that, you see, the kind of questions you're asking, if you want someone to just mention a figure to you, remember, we have to give you some.
But we have something, you have a benchmark there.
We have to give you some.
He told you it's 18 billion.
Yeah, but on the basis of what? So I asked him a question. You see,
what's the basis?
You are making an assumption that as if there's no ongoing expenditure. He does the calculation without any subtractions. So if you calculate that per capita, we need this amount, and therefore this is how much we are spending. And this promise.
The reason why I won't accept your questioning of the figure is because you haven't produced any.
But I'm giving you figures.
Yeah, but you just told me one line item. No, but I'm talking about the entire manifesto.
Yeah, but you don't.
I'm just telling you that figure. Don't throw out figures without explanation.
Come on, but he's done calculations based on grounded facts. It's not
no,
it's a sensational.
Because you don't have any facts to contradict that.
I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair. So, for instance, we talked about a 500 capacity fertility specialist hospital. We estimate it's going to cost about $260 to about $280 million. We've costed everything.
And that's one of the rare times that you get to hear the NDC and the NPP agree on one thing. The Presidential Advisor on Health, Dr. Anthony Nsiasare, and the NDC parliamentary candidate for Lambushi, Dr. Titus Bayu there, all on PM Express last night. Let me thankfully bring in Kwame Sapoe. We are grateful for your time here on Newsnight. He joins us via Zoom. So you've heard the two reps on the show last night after your presentation insisting that they dispute the figures, yet they were not able to tell us what their figures will be. But let me get a quick clarity on this. 111 projects for the NDC, 84 for the NPP. That's aside the other promises that they are making on the campaign trail. Are we adding that to it?
No, we're not adding that. And that's the biggest concern.
Okay.
Because, let me say the beginning first. The problem is they've made promises in education, promises in agriculture, promises in the economy. And as I listened to them, because when yesterday I finished, I took pains to listen to both of them. And Dr. Nsiasare makes a statement that he asked me how I come by it. And I did answer him. And for the benefit of those who are not in that private conversation, because he's made it public, I'll give an answer. Because I have exactly what I told him. I reminded him that in this current government, their current health expenditure per capita is approximately $100. We have 34 million people in Ghana. So if you multiply the $100 by 34, it's 3.4 billion. If you multiply that by 4, you get 13.2 billion to start with. The bigger problem I then reminded him of was of the fact that in November, they told us in their own budget that it would cost 1.7 billion to finish the Agenda 111 projects, but they budgeted just over 200 million to finish them all, which means they knew they were not going to finish it. And so that gave a deficit of 1.5 billion to finish the Agenda 111 projects by their own budget, which has gone into the current manifesto. So we've got to layer that onto their spend. Then they have promised other things. And the thing about health is that there's always a unit cost for every cost center you decide that you're going to introduce. So for example, if you look at the NDC manifesto in free primary healthcare, globally, it's between $40 to $60 per person per year. You can Google it anyway. So if my friend and colleague Titus tells me it costs 49 million, I'll push back and say, you should show me the country where this has been implemented at that rate. I take on board what Titus says when he says, I'm assuming that nothing is happening. No, I'm not assuming that nothing is happening. The truth of the matter is, if you listen to Prof. Bayo claim, he said they were coming back to finish the CHIPS compound that hadn't been completed when they left office. That is caveated on an assumption that the NPP has neglected these CHIPS compounds for 80 years since they have been in power. He couldn't commit to them finishing the Agenda 111 project that the NPP has started and have not finished because they've not budgeted enough for it and it's in the budget of care. So when you are modeling for something like this, you put all these into the modeling projections and then you add on a population growth rate of 2.1%, which is a Ghana Statistical Service growth rate from our last census. And then you project, because the budget and the parliament is for a 4-year cycle, whichever government comes in is going to come 4 years. That is how you do these things. And I dare say, Elefa, they told us that Dr. Osiasari said he was going to give us a figure after the program today. Has that figure around?
We have not received that figure.
We have an intellectual conversation. Pardon?
I was saying that we have not received that figure yet.
Has the figure around?
We have not received it yet.
So how do I have an intellectual conversation? It's like my teacher telling me your answer is wrong. And I ask my teacher, what's the right answer? He says, I don't know. How can that even be a basis to have an intellectual conversation? You are the teacher. You are the teacher because you wrote the manifesto. You wrote the manifesto, therefore you are telling Ghanaians to vote for you, and you are selling them these promises on the basis that you implement them. I ask you, how much would it cost you to implement them? You say you send me the figure a day later, and a day later you've not sent it. But you are telling me my answer is wrong.
Kwame, what then does this
only be ridiculous conjecture?
I was wondering what then this tells. I was wondering, Kwame, what this then tells the ordinary voter, for instance, because this is just health, and they are not able to tell us what exactly they are going to do. Yet we've put out 111 promises on the side of the NDC, 84 on the side of the NPP. Is it that they just put together a wish list? Projects are just thrown into a document, yet we are not sure that will actually materialize.
I think I concluded, that was my concluding statement yesterday. They've got manifestos. They will implement some of them, not all of them. So in 2028, we'll be at an election, irrespective of who wins, where we'll be having a similar conversation, just as I pointed out in 2020, that if they were able to operationalize even 20% of the Agenda 111 by 2024, I was giving the NPP a cast iron conviction that I'd vote for them, and they've still not got missions and operationalized it. Why? We would have a similar conversation in 2028 because they are not telling us how they are going to implement this. And for me, that should speak to the Ghanaian. Because if you are going to vote on the basis of what are in those manifestos, and they cannot show you the calculation of where the money will come from, and what they busy themselves about is to discredit the projections that other people have made, especially when globally, when political parties put out their manifestos. In the UK, for example, where are you? By now, the Office of Budget Responsibility would have costed all these things and told them the issue of what we call costing these things. And I just think.
Oh dear, I seem to be losing you, Kwame. If you could just reposition briefly, I seem to be having a terrible connection to you. But whilst you do that, though, I would then want to find out. Some would say that maybe they have costed it. They have the figures. At least one line item was given for $49 million on the part of the NDC. Could it be that they may have it, but they have to hold it close to their chest? Just maybe. Could that be a possibility?
Well, you know that we are in a country who's looking for $3 billion from the IMF.
Exactly.
So for all intents and purposes, every government that comes would have to borrow to fund these things. If a government borrows in your name, you are going to be the taxpayer who pays for it. How does a government borrow in your name and not tell you that they are going to borrow how much it's going to cost? And how can you be naive to then go and vote on the basis of someone borrowing in your name? You're giving someone a mandate to borrow in your name. He's not telling you the bill he's going to bring to you, but he says vote for me. That is the sort of conjecture that we are being shown. And for me, that's selling snake oil.
And this is the two major political parties we have, the NPP and the NDC. Does it look like we have an alternative?
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't. That's why I told you that in 2028 we'll be having the same conversation. I told you, your station in 2020 and 2024 we'll be having this conversation about agenda. Why ain't going to happen? 4 years later, it's come to pass. I never want to be the prophet of doom. Unfortunately, the way our political parties behave, you always have to put them on the spot. And I'm telling you, unless we get the numbers from them and critically analyze them and compare and contrast with what we've done, in 2028, we'll be having the same conversation.
Well, definitely hold your feet to the fire. And that's why we have Manifesto Tracker in place. And Dr. Anthony Nsiasare promised to give that figure. And Dr. Anthony Nsiasare, I bet you're listening. And we're still waiting for that figure. And this is just in the health sector. And we are yet to get any figures. And they're disputing that the NDC will be using $18.5 billion. And then the NPP, for the 84 projects, they'll be using $13.9 billion. Yet, they're questioning the basis for this particular calculation, but they are yet to give us what the figures are when it comes to at least health. We'll be focusing on other sectors as well as we continue to track the manifestos of the NDC and the NPP, at least the two major political parties as we have it. But let's stay a while longer in the election headquarters. And thank you so much once again, Kwame Sapon-Siedu. Now, the latest Afrobarometer survey on citizens' views on most important problems and economic conditions has revealed that 82% of Ghanaians believe the country is leading or heading in the wrong direction. The survey also indicates that 59% of the population say their living conditions have worsened today than they were a year ago. Dr. Edem Salome is Director of Research at CDD Ghana.
Take the citizen out of the, what happens in the economy in the country as a whole. So we find out from, Ghanaians how their living conditions are, whether it's good or is getting better or worse. And unfortunately, that's what we saw. But, Ghanaians, like I've said, are one of the most optimistic people on earth. And again, you see that, close to half of Ghanaians are really hopeful that in the next 12 years, their personal living conditions would get better. And indeed, that of the country would get a lot better in the next 12 months.
Well, on the payment of bribes, 52% of Ghanaians admitted to paying bribes to obtain police assistance, while 38% paid bribes to avoid problems with the police. A further 40% paid bribes to obtain identity documents, and 19% paid their way to get medical care.
This data shows us that Ghanaians are willing to pay a bribe to get out of trouble. And, for us, that's has gone up from 2022, and then in 2024 the number of Ghanaians that are saying that they pay a bribe to get out of trouble with the police has gone up significantly, and that is bad. Again, let's look at that in connection with how we perceive the police to be corrupt. It's a two-way stream, right? So whilst we are pointing fingers at the police as being corrupt, we also point fingers at ourselves. too, because we are willing to, when it comes to us getting out of trouble, we are willing to pay a bribe to do that.
And of course, unemployment emerged as the most frequently cited problem, as 41% of Ghanaians called on government to actually address that issue. Let's focus on our constituencies now, and it's time for constituency lens. And we're just 37 days away from the elections, and constituents in Anglonga are intensifying their calls for a fair share of the national cake. High on their list are demands for employment opportunities, agro-processing facilities, and an end to illegal mining. Well, we've been to the area. Here's what we found.
For about 32 years, the NDC has dominated this constituency. Will that change this year? We don't know. But that's why we are here to speak to the constituent to understand the key issues that will inform their vote in this election.
I can see like NDC dominated for like quite long.
Since 1992?
Yeah, sure. But there are no developmental projects in our constituency. We promised Harbour for some years now, but up to now we are not seeing anything or any change. At least like we should have something like a tomato processing factory here, so that when our farmers harvest their tomato, they can get easy access to like where to sell it and get like something.
Now and what they are doing, it is telling the youth that we are no more in that era. Now I vote for you, you come back and produce. So this vote we are coming to do is very crucial. They should know that we need development.
They have to end galamsey, because like we the children or we the youth, we will become the future leaders, and like inadequate of water and most of the things, the fishes and the most of the living things in the waters will die. So they have to end galamsey before we vote this year, because it will disturb us, we the youth, in the future. Unemployment and education. Most of the boys and most of the youth are not going to school, and some of us we graduate, but we are still in the house. We didn't go to school yet.
He is having access to 95%, the IGF, and the DPAT, what have you. He has, look.
So you think he has failed?
Oh, he might not have failed fully, but he has failed partially.
So give us a range on a scale of 1 to 100. Where will you place him?
For him, around 46.
46. Okay. Where do you think he has performed or he has failed?
He's below average.
So which mark? He's giving you about 40.
I will give him 35%.
And so from the Anglonga constituency, this has been your constituency lens from the Volta region. I am Carlos Kaloni.
And the full encounter with constituents of Anglonga will air shortly on the JoyNews channel this evening. You don't want to miss it, with my colleague Carlos Kaloni. And still on the election campaign trail in the election headquarters, the NPP flag bearer Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia says his decision to introduce a women empowerment fund instead of a bank is premised on the difficulty people go through to access funds from banks. According to him, the empowerment fund will have flexible terms for accessing the money rather than a bank where women will have to go through tedious scrutiny. At Sankore in the Sunafo South constituency, Dr. Bawumia notes that women traders will only need their Ghana card to access the funds. He also appealed to electorate in the area to change their skirt and blouse voting pattern.
No. Sorry, Rekano. Baby, Osono Ginano, Ohana Nebagina, and Yemen Guana Meko. Na minyina minim say Asunafo South they be a year to aba ye win presidential election, but parliamentary no ohona eye din mai enti afi we die me pese munjai skirt and blouse no na yen too straight and yes sir yen too straight mudie Sankore ha me pese me shamu bosse mudi Frank Adusi Kuba me de obi a ofri Sankore ha ebe shema ban mo.
And that's the NPP flag bearer, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, there speaking to the electorate in the Sunafo South constituency, asking them to avoid that skirt and blouse voting pattern in the upcoming polls. Now, off to the camp also of the NDC, and the presidential candidate John Dramani Mahama has revealed that the party's manifesto includes 12 proposals from Muslim interest groups, stressing the NDC's commitment to serving all Ghanaians. He's in the Kumbungu constituency on the third day of his Northern Region tour, and he's back in Accra now, we're told, for that encounter, the conversations that he's going to have this evening. But my colleague Maxwell Agbagba is with the team. Here's his report.
On the third day of his tour of the Northern Region, John Mahama visited the Savelugu and Kumbungu constituencies. Speaking in the Savelugu constituency, he insisted that the NPP flag bearer, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, must answer his 5 questions on the economy, stressing that is why he was brought to the NPP. The NPP flag bearer had responded to John Mahama's questions with 50 questions of his own.
This election, the main issue is about the economy. And I asked him 5 questions. He answered with some Humpty Dumpty 50 responses. And I'm saying he should forget about his Humpty Dumpty 50 questions. Just answer the 5 questions on the economy for Ghanaians to listen and understand. That's all, simple. That's all we're asking. Because that is why you were brought as vice president. That is why the MPP gave you a waiver to get a party card and become their vice president. Forget about compost plants and all the funny things you're asking me. Answer the 5 questions on the economy.
John Mahama said there's only one school of survey in the southern part of the country. He stressed that there are plans to build a second one in the northern part of Ghana, which will be named in honor of the chief of Kumbungu. He revealed that the NDC included 12 out of 14 requests from Muslim interest groups in its manifesto, as he emphasized that the party is committed to working in the interest of all Ghanaians. He mentioned that the future NDC government would drastically reduce the cost of performing Hajj.
Before we wrote our manifesto, the National Chief Imam came to me with the National Muslim Conference, and they presented us a 14-point Muslim manifesto. We put 12 of those points in our manifesto, and so we are committed to implementing them. When NDC was in government, you needed only 11,900 cedis to perform the Hajj. The money they are charging today, if you had put it in the time NDC was there, you'd have sent your father, your mother, your wife, your sister, your brother, your grandfather, your grandmother. You'd have sent all of them to Hajj. And so, NDC, it is in our manifesto. We say when we come, we're going to reduce the Hajj fare drastically.
And that's John Dramani Mahama there, ending Maxwell Agbagba's report. James Eshen is in the studios. What's up?
All right, cool. Coming up in business this evening, Chamber of Petroleum Consumers COPEC forecast a 2.3% drop in prices of petroleum products from tomorrow. And Cybersecurity Authority pledges to protect critical information infrastructure installations during the December elections. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business, Kingdom Books and Stationery, Syntex Tanks, and Pepsodent Charcoal and Herbal. Welcome back to Business on Newsnight. I am James H. Let's settle for the details now. First off, the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers is predicting a 2.3% reduction in price of petroleum products at the pumps from tomorrow, November 1, 2024. The following report has more.
According to COPEC, the price of petrol is projected to reduce by 2.3% to 13 cedis 82 pesos per litre, while diesel will go down to 14 cedis on the average at the pumps. A kilogram of LPG will be sold for 17 cedis 96 pesos. COPEC explained that the reason for the reduction is due to a decrease in global crude price by 3.2% from $77.1 a barrel to $74.6 a barrel, while the CD continues to depreciate relative to the dollar from an average rate of 1.3%.
And that was a news desk report. Now to some other stories. The Cybersecurity Authority has promised to protect Ghana's critical information infrastructure installations during the 2024 election. Speaking to Joy Business, the Director of Capacity Building and Awareness Creation, Alex Opon, assured that the authority is enforcing full compliance of the Cybersecurity Act on service providers. He spoke at a Cyber Awareness Breakfast meeting organized by the Israeli Economic and Trade Mission to Ghana.
The reason why that there's a focus on critical information infrastructure is because when you're designated as a critical information infrastructure owner, be it the system, it means that anything that happens to that particular system or to that institution that is considered as an owner has a detrimental effect on the Ghana's economy and national security. So in October 2021, we launched what is referred to as the Directive for the Protection of Critical Information Infrastructure. And these are baseline directives pulled from best practices, global best practices.
Alex Opon is the Director of Capacity Building and Awareness Creation at the Cybersecurity Authority. Now, the President of Stanford Seed Transformation Network, Ghana, Carl Richards, is urging government to develop the needed infrastructure to advance the use of artificial intelligence in Ghana. Speaking in an interview with Joy Business, on the sidelines of the Stanford Seed Network Business Conference in Accra, Mr. Richards emphasized the need for reliable and affordable internet for business and individuals.
AI in itself will help you to do what you have to do. I mean, on the basic level, some people are very familiar with things like ChatGPT, and it's like the Google of old. There's a lot of things that you are self-learning, self-taught, that the infrastructure that we are talking about usually would be the infrastructure the government has to provide. That is access to good internet. And this should be all over the country, because everywhere in the world, that is what is driving business nowadays. You cannot work in isolation.
Carl Richards, as the president of Stanford Seed Transformation Network, Ghana, still on IT. In a bid to bridge the digital skills gap among the youth, MTN Pulse as partner Stanbic Bank to empower young innovators and entrepreneurs through its digital skills training program. The digital training will equip 100 youth with the knowledge and tools needed to thrive in the digital space. Speaking to Joy Business at the maiden edition of the training, Senior Manager Segment Marketing at MTN Ghana, Nana Asantua Megashi, urged the participant to take advantage of the training and excel.
This is a training we organized together with Stanbic Ghana. The idea behind it being that we have a shared vision of youth employment, empowerment. We want to empower the youth, make sure that they are future fit, ready for the future with digital skills. So we are using this platform. This is the maiden edition. And we are using this platform to empower the youth, teach them some skills to help themselves, either as in their various lives or even as potential entrepreneurs. I mean, we have a very youthful population, and you know where the world is going now with digital. And we thought, let's leverage that, the youth that we have, and bridge that gap with the digital ideas that are out there for future empowerment. For this very first one, we are looking at just about 100 youth that are here. As I said, it's the maiden edition, and so as time goes, we'll increase it and then give them more access.
You heard Senior Manager Segment Marketing at MTN Ghana, Nana Asantua Amegashi. Now, government has spent about 300 million cedis averagely on the initiative geared towards climate change and environmental sustainability annually. This is according to the Economic Advisor at the Ministry of Finance, Robert Mensah. He made the disclosure when speaking at the closing and knowledge sharing event of the Boston Green Employment and Enterprise Opportunities in Ghana project, an initiative implemented by the United Nations Capital Fund and SNV.
The government has actually spent almost 4% of its budget into climate actions in the country. So between 2015 and 2020, the government actually budgeted for almost about 7.8 million Ghana cedis. That's approximately $1.8 billion to MDs and MDs for expenditure on activities earmarked as climate relevant. So averagely, you can calculate and know that we spend almost about 300 million per year. So that should tell you what the ministry doing. So in the research or study, we realized that there are 4 ministries that are currently, in fact, account for approximately half of the climate finance that we're talking about.
The initiative was funded by the European Union and the Embassy of the Kingdom of the Netherlands in Ghana. And that's all for Business on Newsnight with me, James Echen. Over to you, MFA.
Thank you very much, James. Are you ready for the happy hour?
I'm very much ready.
Okay, we'll be getting there shortly. We'll take you to the Accra International Conference Center. I'll take Musbao along as well. Musbao, what do we have in sports?
Well, it's the Ghana Premier League is heating up, and guess what? Hartlepool are struggling to climb up the table. They're lying 14th to the table, but the surprise leaders of the table is BBN Ghost Stars. They're top of the table after 9 games, and they're leading Kumasi Santo Kotoko, who are in second place. They are second place, 3 points ahead of Kumasi Asante Kotoko, and their head coach, Frimpong Manso, in his press conference ahead of the game this weekend, is saying that he is avoiding the pressure of having to win the Premier League, and he is trying to downplay the opportunity to win the league. At the moment, they stand a very good chance of winning it, but he says they have a long way to go and do not want to be put under any pressure. Remember, the last season was Summertex who are playing the league. Yeah, it was Summertex who won the league last season, surprisingly, and Bibiani Gold Stars, based on their performance at the moment, are in the run to win it. Some update from the Ghana Premier League, but for the big news now is Manchester United's new head coach, and we are waiting when Ruben Amorim is going to take over. Well, they have a game on Friday. He's the head coach of Sporting Lisbon. Man United looking to replace him with Eric Ten Hag. He's got a game on Friday, and today he held a press conference, and guess what he's been saying? He's been saying that he will confirm whether he will leave Sporting Lisbon and move to Man United or the reverse only after the game on Friday. So all Manchester United fans, wait for it. Latest by Saturday, you get clarity as to whether Ruben Amorim will become your new head coach. So MFR, that's it. And we are also recapping on the Joy Sports Invitational content. You should make a date on Joy Prime, 4 p.m. tomorrow. All the companies that took part will try and recap on some of the events that did take place over there. And I cannot forget that MFR, we didn't see you around. I was looking to see you on the tracks, but you
didn't see me around.
Where
were you?
We have to get you ready for next year, God willing. We need to get you ready for next year, God willing.
On coach's advice, they said I should
see
wait.
See
Ms. Val, thank you
right.
for the latest from the world of sports. Now, former director of the Ghana School of Law, Kwekwensa Sari, has strongly criticized the Supreme Court, claiming it has become predictable in its rulings. Of course, this is generating a lot of controversy. But, of course, we've been hearing from the Chief Justice, Gertrude Tokono, and she's tonight warning political parties and other stakeholders to take their procedure seriously or risk having their cases thrown out. Speaking at the launch of the latest manual on adjudicating elections, the Chief Justice insisted that procedure is so fundamental and goes to the heart of every dispute before a court. The Chief Justice therefore cautioned potential litigants to pay particular attention to procedure when going to court.
Not only is procedure critical, but a failure to provide the legal threshold of evidence can be costly. Starting an action in the wrong court can lead to loss of an otherwise perfect case. This is why I crave and ask that strong attention should be paid to the teachings and the learnings in the material that has been freely given in this manual. It should be extremely helpful to especially the media, who need to correctly inform the public on ongoing disputes. This year's edition, which is divided into 3 volumes, as already stated, as the most significant change for ease of reference, is a credit to its drafters. In these 3 volumes, they have done a thorough job of reflecting the changing course of election law, while remaining true to the overarching principles that have guided previous editions.
Now, the Chief Justice has also been wading into the backlash judges are facing after rulings. According to Gertrude Tokono, judges cannot make all parties happy. She also expressed optimism that Ghana will remain peaceful after the crucial 2024 elections.
Every day, a judge annoys somebody. In fact, even if you adjourn a case, you will annoy somebody. If you grant an application, the one who it was granted against will be upset. And so we live with upset. But it is really beautiful to see how we have gathered as a group around our nation. We have nowhere to go. This is the piece of earth that God gave us. And He gave it to a diverse group. And as diverse as we are, our ethnic groups, our various groups, we are one people, one nation, and we have one destiny. We will go through the elections, we will come out, and the nation will be the strongest for it.
And that's the Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu there earlier today. Now, let's head to the Accra International Conference Center. Are you in the rush hour? I'm sure you're very close to the Accra International Conference Center. Just make your way there for the happy hour. It's time to avoid that rush hour. For the happy hour at the Accra International Conference Center is the Ecobank-JoyNews Habitat Fair. There are discounted lands, beautiful furnishing, free consultations, and loads of food and drinks. All at one venue. That's the Accra International Conference Center. And it's ongoing as we speak. It's day 2. Exhibitors say they've considered the economy and varying lifestyles of homeowners and prospective homeowners to offer substantial discounts. Specifically for the fair, I have a dream of owning a house and making it a home. I don't know about you, but that is the place to be. Hannah Odame has been there. Here's her report.
I have a dream of putting up my building. It saves time, it saves money.
The sum of why the fair has been put together, getting everything, housing and more under one roof. Regardless of your budget, exhibitors are making sure you become a homeowner.
We are saying that you should buy a house or land from us and pay it without interest in 5 and 2 years. After we give you 24 months to pay without interest.
We are offering a 10% discount. We are also offering free consultation, and we have a lot of samples available like beds. We have our sofas, swivel chairs, we have carpets here. We even have our beautiful curtain fabric here.
We've slashed our prices down because we want everyone to secure a plot, because buying a land is actually a lifetime investment.
This year, the discounts are unbelievable and patrons are overly excited about the offerings.
When I came previously, I think I had everything I was looking for. So this time around, I'm thinking if I come, I'm going to still get all the things I need for my building.
So this time and this year, what are you looking for?
Obviously, I need something to complete my building. I think I will need a lot of things to get the building completed.
I'm at Chufu Praso area, and it's because of this that I came, because I'm interested in other means we can use apart from brick and mortar and the cement. The companies over here, the customer service is one key thing, and I think they are doing a good job. And all that I need, I know where to go from here. And it's worthwhile traveling all the way here to have this exhibition.
The fair ends on November 2, but already the Multimedia Group Limited is being applauded for the initiative.
I would recommend anybody who has a dream of putting up a building, either for himself or for their family, should come.
I believe every year they do, and they should never stop doing it.
For Joy News, I am Hannah Odame.
And we're making our way there right after the news. You want us to meet there for at least the happy hour. DJ Black is on standby. I think on the jamming note, let's get to the National Science and Maths quiz. And the school that wears green, you're still nursing their wounds, while the school that wears red, black is still painting the central region. Kwaboche, in keeping up with tradition, the contestants paraded the newly won National Science and Maths Quiz trophy. Is gold, just made for Ifansipim School. And of course, my colleague Adubia Asari has more in this report read to you.
In a momentous triumph, Infantipim School clinched their third National Science and Maths Quiz trophy after a thrilling nail-biting finale, breaking a 10-year streak since their last win.
My last 2 digits is also a square. Yes, Isaac.
164.
Yes.
True spirit of tradition, and just ahead of their 148th speech day, the jubilant Butcher Boys took their victory to the streets of Cape Coast. Parading through the town in a celebratory float, they shared their joy with the community before returning to campus, where the trophy was proudly presented to the school's board of directors. back at school with jubilant singing, dancing, and countless photos. The regimental band provided a spirited soundtrack to the occasion, marking a memorable day in Infanta Pim's storied history.
I was just waiting for more. And that's how we wrap up today's edition of News Night here on Joy 99.7 FM. The 2024 National Science and Maths Quiz is produced by Primetime Limited and sponsored by the Ghana Education Service in partnership with Go PLC and supported by Pepsodent, Dupay, Prudential Life Insurance Ghana, and Bittermalt. Also, the broadcast of the 2024 National Science and Maths Quiz has ended all too soon. On Joy News is supported by NASCO, Vitamilk, Virtual Security Africa, Ace Medical Insurance, Build Financial Technologies, DBS Roofing, Syntex Tanks, Family Health Medical College, Chopbox Technologies, and Action Secondary Technical, DPS Pipes, and Waka Now. And I'll hand you over to DJ Black at the Accra International Conference Center, day 2 of the Joy News Ecobank Habitat Fair. You want to be part of the happy hour? Let's meet there. Have a good evening. I am MFA Powell.